Hello Rhinos, how you all doing? Do you want to reduce your A1c naturally but quickly? Have you just been diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, or you've been taking the medication for a long time and you've had enough and you just want to be rid of it? And this is the video for you. Why am I qualified to talk about this? Well, my name is John Collett, and in March 2018 I got diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, and within 6 months I managed to reverse my condition, and I want to help you do the same. So yes, get into it. These are my tips on how to reverse your type 2 diabetes naturally and quickly. My first tip is you've got to break the rules. All your life you've been following the rules. You went to school, you got yourself an education. You came out, you got yourself a job, you started up a business, and you worked hard to get yourself where you are today. You got into a relationship, you had a family, and you built yourself up a good life. You went on holiday when you were meant to go on holiday. You watched cooking programs, you watched adverts on social media and TV, and you ate the food that they were telling you to eat, that you were meant to enjoy. And then all of a sudden, your bruises took longer to heal. Your eyesight started getting worse. The thirst came upon you, like it felt like you were a vampire, with you needing to drink. You got sugar lows, you got sugar highs, you knew something was wrong, you went to the doctors, and he said, you're pre-diabetic or you're a type 2 diabetic. And maybe that didn't feel so good. But he said, it's okay. I got some medication. It's going to help manage your type 2 diabetes. And he gave you the medication. Then they give you a food program to follow. And maybe you've been following that food program and still your blood sugars aren't coming down. And this is all because you're following the rules. And maybe it's about time you broke those rules. So let me tell you why you should. You can go on YouTube, and there are plenty of people who have reversed their type 2 diabetes just like myself, or remission, whichever word is you're more comfortable with, okay? And they've all done it a different way than following doctor's advice. You won't see a single one there saying that I put my type 2 diabetes into remission or reversed it by taking tablets and following the recommended diet. They've all done it a different way. And we're going to get onto that in a second. So why is it then that if that doesn't work and there are other ways that do, are doctors still recommending to you to follow the recommended diet and take the medication? Well, let's take a few things into consideration here. According to the American Diabetes Association, in 2017, the US spent $327 billion treating diabetes. 2/3 of that money was in direct costs for diabetes, and the other third was indirect costs of type 2 diabetes. The average American spends $16,750 a year on diabetes. Yet again, 2/3 of that on direct costs, about 1/3 of that on indirect costs. In the UK, the NHS spends £40 billion a year on treating diabetes. So what you got to see here is there's a lot of money involved. Now, I want to be real clear at this point. I'm not telling you not to take your medication. Please take your medication. Okay, only come off your medication when your doctor tells you. But the fact of the matter is, there's a lot of money involved. And all the people who have reversed their type 2 diabetes, none of them have followed the rules. So I encourage you to break those rules. So what are the rules you need to follow? The first thing is you need to eat real food. The recommended diet that they give you involves you eating pasta, potato, rice, white foods. It also involves you eating 6 meals a day. So what happens is you're eating pasta, rice and potatoes. What they do is they spike your sugar massively. Yes, they're real food, but they spike your food massively, right? And as a result, your blood sugar goes way high. Also, you're eating lots of times during the day, so your blood sugar never has time to calm down. So as a result, it's not going to work for you, okay? Because your body will always be burning energy from the food that you're putting in your system. You're not getting rid of the fat, which is your primary goal, is to get rid of the fat in your liver and in your pancreas. Then you've got all the other options out there. And for me, though they're all well-intentioned, it causes a lot of confusion, because you've got low carb, you've got ketogenic, you're vegetarian, vegan or plant-based. I believe that, that plant-based, that's what they're calling themselves now. Some of them are telling you to eat fat, some of them are telling you to eat carbs, and it all becomes a very confusing place. And they've all got people who have reversed their type 2 diabetes, who have followed that plan. So what one are you meant to pick? How are you meant to decide what is best? And if you feel that way, then give me a charge in the comments below. What's important is that you get started, is to ask yourself this question: what have all of those diets got in common? What they all have in common is they all cut out processed food. They got rid of the processed food, which has got high levels of added sugar, saturated fat and salt. And by cutting that out of your diet and eating real food, you're going to start to get the blood sugars under control and all the other consequences that you have because of your type 2 diabetes. So that's where you start. And to help you with that, in the description below, there is a link. Click on that link and put your name and email in there, and I'll send you a food guide of foods that you can eat. Now, once you've started getting things under control with your diet, by all means, start investigating low carb, start investigating keto, start investigating the plant-based diets, okay? Because what you might find is that your body will react one way to another, one type of diet, which might not be very well, but will react really, really well to another. Because we're all different, you see. All our insulin resistance is different, and our body is going to react different to all of those things. So if you really want to follow one of those diets, then by all means do that, but let's get your blood sugars under control first. My next tip: you're going to have to move your body. You're going to have to get up a sweat. And let me explain why, okay? When we eat food into our system, that food gets turned into glucose, and then we've got millions and millions of cells that try to absorb the energy, that glucose. Now, it can't do that by itself. So what happens is your pancreas produces something called insulin, and then that food absorbs that energy. The problem you've got right now is that you've got type 2 diabetes and your cells have started to ignore that insulin, so they're not absorbing that energy. Now, insulin has a number of different roles it does in your body. It's a fantastic thing that it does. It sends all the nutrients from the foods to different parts of your body. More importantly, any energy that you don't absorb gets turned into fat cells into your body. That gets absorbed in your muscles, in your liver, and as fat cells. Now, what we need to do is start getting those cells to start accepting the insulin and absorbing the energy again. Okay, so we're going to do by exercising. What we do is we can force the body to start doing that. So when we exercise and we build a sweat, I want to stress, build a sweat. If you're going for a walk, when you're watching this video and you've been going out walking and you've still not managed to get your a1c down to the levels you need to, then walk faster. Build a sweat up, okay? Build a sweat. I'm not telling you not to walk, but build a sweat. But what you do is the cells, when you build up a sweat, empty of energy. They absorb, the energy gets sucked out of them, and they're empty of energy. So now what they want energy again. So there's another place they can get that, and that is from our fat cells, because that's what our fat cells are there designed for. Your fat cells are there designed to give you energy when food isn't plentiful. So in old school terms, sort of winter and springtime, okay? So it's designed to do that. So it starts taking this, it wants to take the energy from the fat, and when you start building up a sweat, your body produces something called human growth hormone. Just imagine it like a little Pac-Man eating into the fat, sending the energy up into the body, okay? Now what happens when you eat after you exercise is the cells want more energy. So when the insulin, the pancreas produces the insulin, it starts accepting it again. And it starts burning that, it starts accepting that energy. So what we're doing is, again, the body moving. But when it comes to doing exercise, I do recommend you do an exercise that you enjoy. Because just like the food that you eat, okay, the exercise you do has to be sustainable, and you have to enjoy it, because you're going to have to do it for a long time, because you can't cure type 2 diabetes. You can put the disease into remission, but you can't cure it. If you go back to eating processed food, saturated fat, added sugar, okay, and salt, it's going to come back, all right? So you can't cure it, unfortunately, at this moment in time. But if you do the exercise, do an exercise you enjoy so you can do it long term, and eat food that you can eat so you can eat that long term. So my next tip to you is intermittent fasting, okay? Intermittent fasting is a fantastic way of getting your blood sugars down. So how intermittent fasting works is that you have a period of time where you don't eat. Now that can be 12 hours or that can be 16 hours. So for instance, I'll try and have my last meal at about 8:30 at night. I don't have a big meal at night because it affects your sleep if you have a big meal, because your body's processing food. But I try to have a last small meal at about 8:30, and then I won't eat again until about 12 o'clock. Now what this does, it allows your body the insulin in your body to calm right down. And as a result, your body then will start to go to get its energy from your fat cells. Okay, and this, yet again, I just want to remind you, that is what we're trying to achieve. We're trying to cut down the amount of fat in our body, especially our liver and our pancreas, so the body starts communicating with itself properly again. Okay, and intermittent fasting is a fantastic way of doing that. Now, I want to say, if you don't enjoy the aspect of intermittent fasting, because not everyone does, just to give you hope, I did manage to reverse my blood sugars down into normal levels without intermittent fasting. But when I did start intermittent fasting, I went from a 5.2 down to a 4.6. So it does take you down that further, but you can still do it without intermittent fasting. But if you want to do it quickly, do it straight away. Okay. Now, how do you deal with the hunger pains and everything that you get from intermittent fasting? Well, I recommend you drink lots of water. I do recommend you 4 pints or 2 liters of water a day. Okay, but every time you feel those hunger pains in your stomach, then the reality is you're probably actually feeling dehydrated rather than hungry. So if you have some water instead, you might find that those hunger pains go away. Also, with intermittent fasting, you want to cut out your snacking in between meals. You want to try and make sure you just have food at your set times and cut down the number of snacks you have in between. If you do need to snack, then popcorn or nuts are really good for you. But make sure they're not salted nuts or sweetened nuts. They have to be dry nuts. Okay, but these just a handful as well, not a whole packet. Okay, so that's what I recommend there. And then my last tip for you is be held accountable. Have you ever wondered why your top sports stars like your Andy Murrays, Nadal, your David Beckhams, your Lionel Messis, why they all are such really good elite athletes? Well, it's because they have coaches that help them. They have fitness coaches, they have nutritionists, they have technique coaches, they have fitness coaches. A whole team all around them, helping them, directing them every step of the way to achieve their goal. It's no wonder that they can perform at a much higher level. And so that is what I am offering you, and that is the ability to have a coach. I have a program called Reversing Type 2 Diabetes, and in the description below there's a link. Click on that link, that's going to take you to my website. You can book a 15-minute discovery call with me, and what we can do is have a conversation to see if the program is a good fit for you, and if you're a good fit for the program. And if you're not, then I'll point you in the right direction to make sure you do get the help that you need. I'm going to stick a playlist here all about reversing type 2 diabetes naturally. And just remember, you're no longer a number, you're a Rhino. Now charge.